Maybe we should start with defining what we mean by generalist and specialist.
Okay, let's define our terms.
Right.
So I was looking at a bunch of different dictionaries, like Merriam-Webster and Collins and dictionary.com, even Wikipedia,
Yeah, the usual suspects.
the usual suspects exactly.
The big names.
A generalist is basically someone who, like, has skills or interests that span across a bunch of different fields. They're not just, hyper-focused on one thing. And what's interesting is that, when you look at it from, like, an employer's perspective, there are actually a lot of companies that really value generalists
Yeah, absolutely.
because they bring this wide skill set. They can kind of jump in and maybe work across different departments, and they're not afraid to learn new things.
Right, and I think that's a key element to the generalists, right? They're very comfortable with that breadth. And sort of having a foundational understanding of lots of different areas, even if they don't necessarily have that super deep, you know, expertise in any one particular one.
Right. They have that broad base.
Exactly.
Now, when you look at the specialist side of things,
Hmm.
and again, I looked at Britannica, Merriam-Webster, vocabulary.com, they define a specialist as, someone who's got that deep expertise in a very specific area.
Right.
They really know their stuff inside and out. They're the authorities in their field.
Yeah, they've gone deep, right? They've invested a lot of time and energy into a particular area and become real masters of.
Right, exactly. So you've got, like, the generalist who's kind of comfortable wearing a lot of different hats.
Yeah.
You've got the specialist who's like the guru in their specific domain.
Yep.
And so the question that I think we're going to explore today is, like, in today's world, which is so crazy and, like, constantly changing, what's the better approach?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? Like, which one sets you up for success in this kind of environment?
Right, exactly. And a lot of the sources that we looked at seem to lean towards the generalist having a bit of an edge in that regard.
Yeah, there's definitely a sense that being able to adapt and connect different ideas is becoming more and more valuable.
So tell me a little bit more about that. Like, what is it about the generalist approach that makes them potentially more successful in today's world?
Well, one of the big things that keeps coming up is this idea of adaptability.
No.
Because they have this broader range of skills, generalists tend to be much more flexible.
Yeah.
Like they're able to navigate uncertainty, they can kind of pivot between roles more easily. And, when things are constantly changing, that's a huge asset.
Right. Yeah. Because you never know what's going to come around the corner.
Exactly. And I think it also has to do with having a wider range of mental models to draw from. They've been exposed to more, so they can see patterns and apply strategies from one area to another more easily.
Oh, that's interesting. It's like having a bigger toolbox.
Exactly. More tools to choose from when you face a new challenge.
So it's not just about adapting to change, but also about, coming up with new ideas, being creative. And I know that was a big theme that we saw in our sources as well.
Absolutely. That cross-disciplinary thinking, it's like a superpower for generalists.
Mm.
They can connect ideas from different fields, come up with solutions that wouldn't be obvious to someone with a narrower focus.
Yeah, it's like seeing the connections that other people miss.
Exactly. And there are so many great examples of this throughout history. Like, think about Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh, yeah, like the quintessential Renaissance man.
Right. He was an artist, a scientist, an engineer, an inventor.
Mm.
Or Benjamin Franklin. Politics, invention, writing, science, music, you name it, he did it.
And it wasn't just these, like, historical figures.
Right.
We were looking at Steve Jobs, and, he wasn't like a hardcore programmer, but he understood technology and design and marketing, and that combination was really what revolutionized, personal computing.
Absolutely. And even something like his fascination with calligraphy, which seems totally unrelated, actually influenced Apple's focus on typography.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
It's amazing how those seemingly unrelated interests can come together.
And then you've got Elon Musk, who's doing, like, everything all at once. Engineering, business, technology, space exploration.
Yeah, he's definitely not afraid to tackle multiple fields. And then there's Marie Curie, bridging physics and chemistry. William Shakespeare, whose plays drew on his knowledge of history, politics, even agriculture. Richard Feynman, a brilliant physicist who was also passionate about education, music, and art.
Yeah, it's really incredible when you start looking at all these examples. Like Marissa Mayer combined computer science, psychology, linguistics, and business. Even Roger Federer's success in tennis is attributed in part to his early exposure to different sports, building that athletic foundation.
It's a common thread, isn't it? These highly successful individuals often had diverse interests and weren't afraid to explore different fields.
Right, exactly. It's like they saw the world as this interconnected web rather than a bunch of separate boxes.
Exactly. And that leads us to another important advantage for generalists, this holistic understanding of systems. They can grasp the bigger picture. They see how different parts interact. It makes them much better at strategic thinking and problem solving.
Because they can see the whole forest, not just the individual trees.
Exactly. And then you've got transferable skills, things like critical thinking, communication, project management.
Right, skills that aren't tied to a specific industry or job.
Exactly. Generalists tend to develop these skills really well, which makes them super adaptable. They can move between roles, even industries, much more easily.
And the sources also talked about their ability to handle uncertainty, which is a pretty crucial skill these days.
Oh, absolutely. Because they're comfortable with ambiguity and have a broader perspective, generalists tend to be better at anticipating outcomes and dealing with unexpected situations.
No, it's not just about having a wider range of knowledge. It's about how you think, how you approach problems, how you handle the unknown.
Exactly. It's a mindset.
Okay, so the generalist side is looking pretty strong. But what about the specialists? Surely there are areas where they still have a distinct advantage.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, their deep expertise is incredibly valuable. But the sources do highlight some potential limitations, especially in a world that's changing so rapidly.
Like what?
Well, for one, they can sometimes struggle to adapt when circumstances change significantly. It can be hard to see beyond that narrow focus they've developed.
Yeah, it's like they've got blinders on in a way.
Sort of. And this lack of flexibility can also make them resistant to new ideas or slow to adjust when the market shifts.
Which could be a problem when technology is evolving at such a crazy pace.
Exactly. And then there's the risk of obsolescence. If a specialist's skills become less relevant, they might find it difficult to pivot without, like, a major retraining effort.
That's a scary thought. You spend years honing your skills, and then suddenly they're not in demand anymore.
Right. And even if their skills are still relevant, specialists sometimes limit themselves by staying within their comfort zone, even if there might be more opportunities elsewhere.
It's like they're trapped in their own little niche.
Yeah, and their deep knowledge, while valuable, becomes less so if they can't or won't apply it more broadly.
So it seems like this whole idea of the world becoming more complex and interconnected really does favor the generalist.
The sources definitely point in that direction. Technology, globalization, the sheer volume of information we're bombarded with every day, all of these factors make broad knowledge and adaptability much more valuable than ever before.
And as AI starts to take over more routine tasks, the uniquely human skills of connecting ideas and seeing the bigger picture become even more important.
Exactly. It's not just about being able to do a specific job anymore. It's about being able to think critically, adapt to new situations, and solve complex problems.
Which is where the whole concept of the expert generalist comes in, right?
Right. It's like the best of both worlds. You've got the broad knowledge base, but you also have deep expertise in at least one, maybe even a few specific areas.
So you're not just a jack of all trades. You're a master of some as well.
Exactly. And this idea is really gaining traction. David Epstein's book Range, which we referenced in our research, makes a compelling argument for this kind of approach, especially in fields that are constantly evolving.
It's fascinating that the rise of AI isn't necessarily diminishing the value of expertise, but it is shifting the emphasis towards those who can bridge the gap between specialized knowledge and the broader context.
Right. It's about being able to leverage both, to see the connections that AI might miss, and to guide those with specialized skills towards innovative solutions.
So when we think about career trajectories, how does all of this play out?
Well, the sources suggest that specialists might have a faster initial climb, but generalists tend to catch up and often surpass them later on.
Which makes sense, right? You might need a broader understanding to figure out where your true passions and skills lie.
Absolutely. And once they've found their niche, generalists often have greater earning potential and more opportunities for leadership because of their adaptability and those transferable skills.
So it's like a long-term investment.
Exactly. And they're also more mobile. They can switch jobs and industries more easily, which is a huge advantage in today's volatile job market.
Whereas specialists might find themselves kind of stuck if their field shrinks or becomes less relevant.
Right. It can be much harder for them to transition without a significant retraining effort. And as you move into more senior roles, that broad skill set and strategic thinking become even more valuable.
Speaking of which, it sounds like generalists are particularly well suited for leadership positions.
Yeah, that's a big takeaway from our research. They have that comprehensive understanding of the organization. They can see the bigger picture. They can communicate effectively across different departments, and they're comfortable leading in the face of uncertainty.
All essential qualities for a good leader.
Absolutely. And the sources talk about this idea of the generalist leader, someone who can lead effectively even without deep industry-specific experience. They rely on their ability to learn quickly, to connect the dots, and to leverage the expertise of their team.
So it's not about being the smartest person in the room. It's
Right.
about being able to see the whole picture and guide everyone towards a common goal.
Exactly. And again, that expert generalist model seems particularly valuable at the leadership level. You've got the strategic vision and the ability to connect with and guide those who have the deep specialized knowledge.
Okay, so we've talked about adaptability, leadership. What about innovation? Where do generalists fit into that?
Innovation is another area where they really shine. Their broad knowledge base allows them to see connections and possibilities that others might miss.
They can bring together ideas from different fields and come up with truly novel solutions.
Exactly. And the sources even talk about lateral thinking as a key characteristic of generalists.
Lateral thinking.
Yeah, it's about approaching problems from unconventional angles, making those unexpected connections. And generalists are often drawn to challenging projects, the kind that require creative thinking and a willingness to experiment.
Which is where innovation happens.
Right. And the research actually suggests a link between this kind of thinking and positive business outcomes, things like increased revenue and improved employee retention.
So to bring it all together, it seems like deep expertise is still important.
Absolutely.
But in today's world, having that broader perspective, that ability to adapt and connect ideas, those transferable skills, are becoming increasingly valuable.
Exactly. And it's not just about landing a job.
Right.
It's about navigating a world that's constantly changing, about being able to contribute in meaningful ways, about being a leader, an innovator.
This has been a really thought-provoking deep dive. I hope it's got everyone listening thinking about their own skills and interests. You know, in a world that's being reshaped by technology every single day, it's worth asking yourself, how can your own unique combination of experiences and knowledge help you navigate the future? It's not just about what you're good at, but also how you think and how you connect the dots.
That's a great takeaway. It's not a one-size-fits-all answer. But understanding the strengths of both the generalist and the specialist approach can really help you figure out what path makes the most sense for you.
And who knows, maybe you'll discover that your seemingly unrelated interests and skills are actually your biggest assets.
It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See ya.